Hello, my name is Lee Strobel. If you knew me years ago, you would know that I was a staunch skeptic. I firmly believed that science had rendered God obsolete. I thought that, as we understood more about the universe, the less we would need faith to explain our existence. To me, science was the only reliable source of knowledge, and religion seemed like some kind of outdated superstition. But all that began to change when I embarked on a research journey. I was guided not by faith, but by journalism. I wanted to discover the truth, whatever it might be. My mission was to question, investigate, and seek solid answers. What I found not only challenged my beliefs, but completely transformed the way I see reality and, consequently, myself, today. I want to share with you 3 of the most powerful scientific discoveries I've investigated, evidence that has led me to conclude that there is, indeed, a creator behind everything. These discoveries are recognized by respected scientists around the world, regardless of their personal faith or beliefs. And each of them raises such profound questions that, to me, the most logical and coherent answer points to God. Let's start at the beginning, literally. For a long time, many scientists believed that the universe was eternal, that it had simply always existed and always would. This idea made sense within what we knew. But as research progressed throughout the 20th century, this notion began to crumble. The Big Bang Theory showed that the universe had a specific beginning, a moment when time, space, matter, and energy all came into being. This is both amazing and radical. I remember that Einstein, who was one of the greatest geniuses in physics, initially resisted this idea. He even modified his equation of relativity to avoid the inevitable conclusion of a cosmic beginning, because it seemed incompatible with his thinking. But over time, he himself admitted that the universe is not eternal. It had a beginning. And this raises a question that cannot be ignored. What, or who, caused this beginning? If the universe had a beginning, then something outside of it must have caused that beginning. Something that is beyond time and space. Something immaterial, incredibly powerful, and personal. I say personal because only a mind can choose to create. Does that sound familiar? Yes, it sounds exactly like the classic description of God. Physicist Stephen Hawking has admitted that most scientists are uncomfortable with the idea of a beginning because it smacks too much of a creator. But the evidence is overwhelming. It confronts us with the possibility of a God who started everything. But the story doesn't end there. It's not enough that the universe began. When we look at how it was structured, we realize something even more amazing. It is fine-tuned with incredible precision for life. Physical constants, such as the force of gravity, the nuclear force, the speed of light, the mass of an electron, have been calibrated to an absurd precision. If any of them were even slightly different, nothing as we know it would exist. No atoms, no stars, no planets, much less life. This idea of fine-tuning is fascinating. Imagine that the universe is an incredibly complex machine. In order for it to function, every part has to be in exactly the right place. If one screw were just a millimeter off, the whole thing could fall apart. That's what happens to our universe. Physicist Paul Davies, a respected scientist, has even said that it seems as if someone touched the buttons of physics for a purpose. This is not a religious opinion. It is the observation of a scientist. Faced with the complexity of the universe, some scientists suggest that there may be multiple universes, the so-called multiverse where only ours is lucky enough to be habitable. But this idea fails to solve the fundamental mystery. Who designed the universe generator? Where does order and precision come from? The multiverse simply pushes the question elsewhere. For me, the simplest and most powerful explanation remains the classic one: an intelligent creator who wanted to create a universe capable of sustaining life. But perhaps the discovery that impressed me the most, and which I consider the most personal, is the complexity of the information contained in DNA. Every living cell carries within it a digital code, a set of instructions that determines everything from how its body is formed to how it reacts to its environment. This code is so sophisticated that it has been compared to advanced programming languages. Human DNA contains about 3 billion precisely organized letters. This information is not just random. It is functional, ordered, and capable of being read and interpreted by the cell. In simple terms, DNA is a gigantic database, and someone had to write it down. Philosopher of science Stephen Meyer argues that complex and specific information always comes from an intelligent mind. We have never found another source for this type of content. Rocks don't write books. Accidents don't produce complex information systems, but intelligent minds do. but intelligent minds do. Modern biology reveals that at the heart of life is a language system, and this once again brings us back to the idea of an intelligent creator. When I put these three discoveries together, the origin of the universe, fine-tuning, and DNA, realized that they all point in the same direction. This is not a random, cold, impersonal universe. This is a purposeful, calibrated, living universe. I didn't come to this conclusion based on emotion, but on evidence. As an investigative journalist, I used the same rigorous criteria I applied in courtrooms and newsrooms. The conclusion led me to God. And you know what's even more amazing? The Christian faith doesn't require you to abandon reason. On the contrary, it rests on a solid foundation of logic, evidence, and coherence. God is not the explanation for the gaps. He is the best explanation for what we know. The universe did not need to exist, but it does. Life did not need to emerge, but it did. Consciousness did not need to emerge, but it did. The question remains, why? The naturalist answer is chance. The theist answer is intention. And when we lay all the evidence out on the table, it becomes clear that chance does not have the power to generate purpose, meaning, and beauty. Today, as someone who has been on the other side, I can say with conviction, science does not bury God. It reveals his signature. True faith does not fear investigation. Truth can be examined on. The more we examine the universe, the more we find evidence of the Creator. This Creator is not an impersonal force, but a personal God who desires to be known. Science may point to him, but it is faith that leads us to him. If you're skeptical, I understand. I've been there. But I invite you to investigate honestly, because if God is real, it may be the most important discovery of your life. What is at stake? Here is not just an intellectual debate. It is the very meaning of existence. You are not a cosmic accident. You are part of an intentional creation. And the Creator who designed the heavens and the earth also wants to have a relationship with you. Perhaps this is your first opportunity to seriously reflect on these questions. If so, I encourage you, keep seeking. God honors those who seek him sincerely. Because in the end, it's not just a matter of science, it's a matter of eternity. And eternity is worth every second of your investigation. Many people think that faith and reason are enemies. That to believe in God, you have to turn off your brain. But that's simply not true. Biblical faith is based on evidence. That's why Jesus said, "Love the Lord your God with all your mind." It is not irrational to believe in God. It is irrational to ignore the evidence we have before our eyes. It is irrational to believe that the genetic code wrote itself, or that the universe came out of nothing, without cause, without direction, without purpose. During my journey, I interviewed several world-renowned scientists, physicists, biologists, astronomers, geneticists, and many of them, based on their research, came to the same conclusion. The universe points to an intelligent creator. You may not hear it in the media headlines, but a quiet revolution is happening in the sciences. More and more researchers are saying, maybe, just maybe, the God hypothesis makes sense. Astronomer Robert Jastrow, who declared himself an agnostic, wrote something that struck me deeply. For the scientist who lives by faith in the power of reason, the story ends like a nightmare. He has climbed the mountain of ignorance. He is about to reach the summit, and as he pulls himself up onto the last rock, he is greeted by a group of theologians who have been there for centuries. That's the point. Faith is not the end of reason, but its pinnacle. God is not an escape from science, but the best explanation for the most profound scientific discoveries. And the most incredible thing, this God who created the vast universe, who designed the laws of physics, who wrote the code of life, also created us with a purpose. We were not made just to exist. We were made to know and walk with him. This transforms this debate from a cold, technical issue to something deeply personal. Because if God exists, and he does, then he cares about you. Maybe you're going through a time of doubt. Maybe you've been hurt by religion. Maybe you've concluded that God doesn't care. I've thought that way too. But I can say that when I opened my mind to the possibility that God existed, my life began to change. And when I came to know the God revealed in Christ, I found not just intellectual answers. I found meaning, hope, forgiveness, and purpose. Christian faith does not begin with blindly believe, but with come and see. Jesus invites you to investigate. And when you look with open eyes, the evidence becomes clear. The universe is not just a collection of atoms. It is a masterpiece of design. Every detail from the cosmic laws to the DNA code shouts, there is a creator. And this creator is personal. He is not an impersonal energy or a distant force. He is a loving Father who has revealed himself, who has come to us, and who desires to restore relationship with his creatures. You can choose to continue seeing all this as coincidence. But isn't it time to give a chance to the hypothesis that all this is the work of someone? Maybe this video, this message, is not by chance. Maybe it is an answer to a silent prayer you have prayed, or a subtle call from God, saying, I am here. I'm not here to force you to believe. But as someone who has looked deeply, who has come out of atheism and discovered faith, I'm here to tell you that it's worth seeking. Because the truth is that science can take us to the threshold, but we must take the final step of faith to know the author behind creation. Don't be afraid of the truth. Don't be afraid of doubt. God is not afraid of your questions. He only asks for a heart willing to listen. And maybe today is the day to take that step. To look to the heavens and say, if you are real, reveal yourself to me. And I believe, based on the evidence and my experience, that he will answer. Thank you for listening to me this far. Remember, you are not here by chance. The creator of the universe knows you, loves you, and invites you to know him. The greatest discovery of your life can begin now.